So, welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show with Impromptu Tuesday. Wednesday. I do know what day it is. And I'm playing in my Daydreams colour book. And I love the pages, and I love the fact that it's cream ivory. And it's very well behaved with a water medium if you're not too wet. So I've been getting obsessed with gouache, and I'd forgotten just how wonderful it is. So I'm going to be playing with gouache, and these have kind of dried up, and these are not the expensive ones. I don't think there's any professional ones in here. These are all the cheapy ones. Um, if I remember rightly, they're all cheapy ones. And so I'm also working with my Art Master Pearl Series 11 because I really like these, and I've found, going through my paintbrushes, I've actually found a full set of these. I thought I only had one, so yesterday I bought these and I didn't really need them. Having said that, I really like these, so I'm going to take out. There are small spaces, so I'm going to take the three, the six, the four, the six, and I'm a bit of an old fuddy duddy. I like to play in threes, so I've got a six, a four, and a two, and that's kind of given me a chunky one, a medium one, which you can see better when it's wet, and then a tiny one because there are a few little tiny spaces in here. So I'm not doing that one. I do apologise. I'm not doing that bunny one. I'm saving that one for Thumper because I'm still not brilliant, and I want to say keep that one for nice. But I want these mushrooms, so I'm going to do this one. But there still are some quite small things in there. So I've been using this palette because I'm going to be putting my gouache into here eventually, and these colours here are the ones I've been using for my dragon in my Myth Morphia. So I've got these colours here, and I haven't finished with them. And because I haven't finished with them, I don't really want to use those. I want to keep them till I finish. Now, sometimes you can say, well, finish a page at a time, but normally I'm not like that. I normally like to play in different books at different times. So I intend to turn this around and use this side. Now, traditionally, these are Cotman watercolours, and they are not professional, but they are very, very, very good quality. The pigment is fab. In fact, sometimes they're easier to use because professional watercolours are quite sticky because they've got too much pigment in them. These are perfect. And my daughter will be having a set of these. So, but traditionally, you would have a deeper well for your washes, and then you will have shallower wells for more detailed, drier work. But obviously, I'm not using them for that reason. So I need to get rid of my paintbrushes. I normally have a spare piece of paper, which will have to be this one. I'm going to put the paints on top of there, have this spare, and then this underneath just to protect the next page, and also as a colour tester, because even though this is just a colour book, I do like to make a fairly decent job of them if it's a nice expensive colour book. Terry says she's so used to seeing me use a rigger. Yeah, I've the riggers are for dry watercolouring, but for gouache, you need a little bit of a fatter brush. But you do need to use it quite dry. So I've got, in actual fact, it's a face wipe, but I don't use makeup very often. But I do tend to clean my face in the morning before I get out of bed. And sometimes I don't get out of bed, so I wash my face with one of these, and I put face cream on. And then when I go to bed, even though I've been in the shower or bath, I still, when I go to bed, I plait my hair and I use a baby wipe. sorry, a face wipe, and I use the simple one which doesn't have any smells in it and it doesn't have any chemicals in it, and I find it a really nice soft one, and I just throw them away. And I thought, well, that's a waste. So when I got to the bottom of this, my husband brought me the ones without the tops on, and I thought, well, why am I throwing these away? There isn't any. Obviously, if I'm using makeup, you have to throw them away. But I'm using two a day, so I decided I was going to throw them into here, and I'm going to use them for to recycle them, because again, it's only got me on it, so it's not, and it's not got a lot of me on it. So this definitely was not my makeup. I've been using it all morning, so they normally come out like this. Oh no, that's. I love these kitchen papers. They've just come out and they're round, but you don't have to tear them off. They're in a little cone, and I love them because it means you can pick them up one-handed. So I have one on my desk, and I just think they're wonderful, and you can just do that one-handed, and it's kitchen paper. Isn't that clever? It's only taken us about 50 years to get to that. So I've got three of those, and this is the Pearl Art Master, Series 11. And what I was looking for, and it took me a long time, this one is the Royal and Langnickel Bright Flat Court Brilliant, and I don't know what size. It just says round. Oh, that's a fill, but this is the one that I wanted. This one, and it says round, but it goes to a point. Sorry, my light's gone. So although it's a round one, it isn't a normal round one. I haven't got any with me at the moment. It goes to a very sharp point, like this one does. So it means it's going to hold a bit of colour, and then it's going to release a bit when it wants to. And then I say I couldn't resist. I couldn't find, and they're still in the plastic containers. These have got plastic ends on them. So it probably was a set. I'm thinking about it. It probably was a set. So without further ado, my favourite thing on these books are mushrooms, and I found a brilliant colour for mushrooms. And what it is, it's basically an Elysian crimson, so that's a really pinky red, with a cadmium red, which is a kind of an orangey red, but not an orange. And I use half and half, and I've actually made one because I love it that much. But I shall make it with the colours, and you can see. But gouache is not traditionally used like this. That particular one is a, oopsie, let's have a look. The ones I've got here are a 12, a 10 and 8, and I've got 6, 4 and 2 in my hand. And it must have been a set. This one was £9.99, which broke my heart a bit, but then I thought, well, I haven't bought any brushes for a long time. As you saw from this morning stream and one of my videos, I don't think I actually need to buy any more, and that's just one pot. I think there's 9 pots about somewhere. So I don't need any more paintbrushes, but it's the nature of the so without further ado, I'm going to have a bit of a mix, and because I'm not using a lot, and you use it very watery, you don't use it like a traditional gouache. If you want to know how to use gouache traditionally, look for illustrators who make little pots of it, and it's like cream. It's like double cream, pouring cream, and it's liquid. It runs. It's not too runny, but it runs. I'm using it almost like milk. It's just barely not water, basically, and it's still opaque, and it still works quite well, but it's not how you would traditionally use these wonderful things, so bear that in mind. But I always like to watch a lot of different YouTube things anyway. So I need, and this is dried, it's all cracked and dried, but I'll show you how I mix the first colour. So I would say that's the pinky red. I would say this is Elysian crimson. I think that's rose pink if I remember. So I'm going to put alizarin crimson here, and to break my heart, you need a double water pot, one for cleaning and one for dipping. In fact, normally I have three, but so you need at least two water pots. And the cleaning one could be a bucket on the floor because that's how much colour you waste. I know, tight Yorkshire lass. So then we want some orangey red, which again, look, mine's all loose and bitty. So it's all loose. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, which I haven't done. I haven't sprayed. I'm just going to get some of this and pop it next to it. So you can tell the difference. Then if you mix an equal amount of each colour, you get a gorgeous colour, which isn't orangey red and it isn't pinky red, but it's in between. Now actually I think there is that colour here, and I think it's called cadmium red deep hue, and I think that's between a cadmium red orangey red and a cadmium red alizarin crimson, and that's the colour that I like for my toadstools. But obviously you can do whatever colour you want for your toadstools. I'm just looking for my little spritzer, and I have no recollection of where I put it. Oh dear, dear, there's always something I forget. So apologies, I won't be spraying it with water. I will be taking a... Just bear with me 2 seconds. It cannot disappear. I'm getting everything ready. Does it look a bit yellow? I'll have a play. The problem I have is, as per, I am planning a live show paint along with oils tomorrow, and my light in my tube light in my my lamp, my table has died on me after 20 years, the day before my live stream. So I haven't got a light, in which case I've just remembered I'll have to go and buy one. I cannot believe that after 20 odd years it's decided to die today. So apologies for the yellow. It is a little bit yellow anyway because this is Kirby Roseanne. So if I put white next to it, that's white and that's cream and that's ivory. Well, it's just off white, that one. But it's because of the lights. If I put that one back on, it should go white. If I turn that one off, but I didn't think you could see. This is the yellow one. This is a white light, but of course then it might be too bright. Does that any better? But when I zoom in, it may be okay. Yep. So just bear with me 2 seconds. I've just asked hubby to turn it on because it may... Yeah, it's flashing, you see. That would drive... So thanks, guys. Is that better? Oh, right, we'll use that then. The only other thing I was going to do is, and I just knocked that down for that. Yeah, I thought it would be better, but it was too bright. So just do that and see if this will kind of, see if this is okay. Now be careful because that's going to be quite zoomed in. Oh look, a bunny tail, a bunny tail. So I'll just rearrange that. And I'm going to start with the mushroom there. He's sitting on a mushroom, so I'll start with that one. Oh no, Alfie's found his squeaky toy. Alfie's found his squeaky toy. So, I don't think so, Mel. I was going to go through them. I think the medium round brushes, they won't work for the way I work with the rigger because I put a tiny bit of colour on there. Oopsie, let me just wet it. Not with coffee. So I put a tiny bit of colour on the end, and then I manipulate that colour. And it's the opposite of a chameleon pen. Chameleon pens have the colour at the end, and they manipulate it with a damp, and it gets paler and paler and darker and darker and darker and darker. Mine starts dark and gets paler and paler and paler and paler until I end up with just water. And that's why I don't waste any paint, because every scrap of paint that gets on there goes on my page. And that means that you can have a watercolour effect. I I won't be doing it with this. I could do it and then I can do it with a green and then I can so I'll show you what I mean. So if I've got a green here, I don't know if I want this green. Oh my goodness, sorry, he's found his. So if you use a viridian, oh, I can't speak today. A viridian green, and you put a touch of, I just have to find that spray. And my daughter, who's very naughty, said she'd bring me the spray back. Oh my goodness, that was a good catch. I just have to put some water in these. Have to, oops, just I need a really big. Don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I'm doing it. I've got just some strong colours now, so I can stand. You need to wet them. If they've dried out, you do need to wet them. Try not to contaminate them. So I've probably wet them a bit too much, but that's just going to make them a bit easier to use. So I do like the number 6. So we'll get some viridian green going, and then clean brush into there. And if you put viridian green with a kind of a very warm tangerine yellow, oh, I've used the wrong colour, but never mind, you will get an olive colour. And that's what I was trying to do, is get an olive colour. So with a rigger, how I work is I get a little bit of colour on the end. Let me have a look. I know in the UK there are only a couple of. I think somebody said they did find them in the US. So what you need to do is manipulate that colour. Yeah, it might not work with gouache purely because. Oops, and I've got that on there. Purely because gouache isn't like a watercolour. Let me just see if I can get. So basically, I've got green on the end, and I keep going until I get nothing. So you start dark, and you get a watercolour effect, and a lovely see if that was a rose. You get a lovely watercolour effect, but there's hardly any water, and it's a water. It's just printer paper, and it doesn't go through. Whereas if you wanted that effect with water and watercolour, you'd need watercolour paper, and you certainly couldn't do it on your colour book. So a rigger is perfect for that. If you're using a different brush, what happens is you get all the colour, you see all the water here. You don't get that dark to light, you just get whoosh, you get water straight away. So it won't work, but that's only if you want to use it with my colour brush. My colour book. But in the UK, there are only a couple of. Oh, I've used that nasty green. Never mind. It's gouache. It'll go over the top. And I do want the number 2 for this because it's a bit small. So get a damp brush. It's cleaned, and I've put it on the baby wipe, so it's damp, but it's not. And I'm just. Oopsie. I've now got extremely wishy-washy gouache. This is not how you use gouache. So I've had that very bright tangerine orange and viridian green, and it's almost the consistency of milk. And you really want rid of all that. You want just the barest amount, because when you've mixed it, you want to dry the brush, because if you have a lot of water on it, the only thing that will happen is it'll just go through your page. Now I've turned my water pot the wrong way around, so of course I keep going in the water pot. So I've got a fairly dry brush, and then just touch the tiniest amount, and what that does is it gives you a brush, and because it's this particular type, which is quite a fat type with a point, what it allows you to do is it allows you to have almost like a perpetual marker. Flat gouache is like playing with a felt pen, an old-fashioned felt pen. Everything is a flat colour. It's not like watercolour. And I'd forgotten just how wonderful gouache was. So you kind of get that animated illustration, Disney effect. And it's very quick. And I like to work light to dark, but I've only been playing with this a couple of days. I'd forgotten, but hopefully things will come back. But we use it in graphics because you wanted a flat. If you're doing the inside of a word, if you were doing a logo for something, so I'm going to do Bunny's Designs as a logo, and then you can see how to use gouache traditionally. But I've watered it down to practically nothing, so I can get this really nice, cool effect in a colour book. So it's not going to damage the page because you're not rubbing too much, you're just gliding that paintbrush over. And you have a marker effect. Oopsie, I can't do this because my hand's a bit iffy today. But there's nothing on the other side at all. Oopsie, that's not the right side. Bear with me. There we go. So you can see the leaf. That's not the one I've coloured. That's the one I've coloured there where my finger is. And there's nothing there at all. And you get some really nice effects. Now let's see if we can get rid of that nasty green. So you can work light to dark. Now I've not tried this before, but I normally like a variation on these. So. But you want a barely damp brush. And that makes it's going to dry very quickly. It's not going to soak in the paper. It's not going to do any damage. I actually like the other colour better. That other one is slightly paler. So I'm going to go back to the original one. And it is really still the consistency of milk. It's not quite water, but because it's got the gouache in it, and the gouache has got some kind of chemical chalk in it to make it opaque. So it behaves very well, and you can just keep going and going and going, and it just is so good. So again, it's very quick. Now I work light to dark, but I'm only just starting to play with this. And again, this is not the way you would use gouache, but it seems to work in a colour page. And these particular ones that I'm using at the moment are not professional. I do have some designer gouache, but I haven't used it yet. These are just the cheapy cheerful ones that my daughter had at college that I gave her, that I kept saying I was going to play with and forgotten. So it's a lot easier just to go around and get all these leaves. Now they're all going to be identical, but I can put another layer on once they're dry. Gouache can be layered like watercolour as long as your page is dry. Oh, thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne's enabling us all to look for riggers, because riggers react differently than ordinary watercolour brushes. You'll probably be able to do this with a watercolour brush. I just particularly like these particular pointed ones. I've just found a spider there. So this is very quick, and again it's quite pleasurable. It's like playing with a marker, with a perpetual marker. And because this is a bit of a different kind of, it's just a bit different, is the brush. It's a bit fatter. It's not just a boring round brush. It's pointed at the end and fatter. It's holding that little bit more colour, so you can go on for that little bit longer. There probably is a proper word for them, but I don't think that I know it. And just bear with me, I just need to move my huge water pot. So I can manoeuvre this around a bit. So I found some little leaves there. The one thing that if you want to work like this quite flat and kind of animated is you need to make enough, because you probably will run out. Sorry, girls going in and out. It's always noisy when the girls are home. Sorry about that. So thanks for joining me, guys. Hope everybody's okay. Um, this is like watching paint dry, unfortunately. It's fun to do, I have to say. It glides on really effortless, and there's a little bit of mixing, but then once you get your colours right, you're away. But I would think it's quite boring watching after a while, especially now I'm going to do all these silly leaves, all the same colour. So thanks for watching, and this is a live show from ustream.tv, and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. And thank you for joining me on YouTube. And if you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and make any constructive suggestions would be appreciated, especially about the riggers and the paintbrushes, because there's so many paintbrushes out there, and there's so many paints out there, and there's so many different makes, and YouTube is so universal that what you can get in one country you can't get in another, and it's quite good if you stream live that people can come on and ask questions, and even somebody else in chat can probably answer it, so that's wonderful. So thank you to Suzanne today, our enabler. It's finding lots of goody yum yums on Amazon. Although I'm a bit of an old-fashioned girl, I do like to kind of pick up my things and have a look at them. But sometimes we just can't get out. So I had a disaster today. They delivered something wrong, but never mind. It's probably me that ordered the wrong one. I'm going to be a bit careful here. I don't think there's anything. I think that is all leaf. So I'm putting a flat colour on first, and then I can go over if I want to. So when I finished, if I want to, because normally I put lots of variegated leaves, and I put shadows and watercolour effects, and I love that, but I think the gouache lends itself to kind of, as I call it, the Disney effect. It's kind of animated. A leaf is all one colour, doesn't matter if it's in shade or not, but it does give a really nice kind of effect on everything. Oh, Claudia says she's using the Reeves gouache and it's nice. Yeah, the Reeves gouache is in here somewhere. I've got Reeves, and I've got one called Essentials, which I'm sure was quite a cheapy one. And but when I mix my own colours to take with me, I will be using. I bought some designer gouache from Winsor and Newton, and I will be using that. I think it was about £30 some for a set of 10, but they do go a long way. But as I said before, you don't have to buy gouache or expensive gouache. Buy a white gouache and mix some watercolours and put a tiny bit of white in, because obviously you put a lot in, you're going to get a big white colour. You're going to pastelise, you're going to make it a very pale colour. But if you put a tiny bit of white into your colours, your watercolours, they will go opaque, and you will have something very similar to a gouache, and so you can have a bit of a play before you buy. I hope that made sense. So I will be doing I think my next one will be logo. I've got so much to do, but I think I like playing in different mediums. Some people always like the same, and I like lots of different ones. But again, it does depend on how good my hands are. And after yesterday priming that canvas, I think I shall be getting my daughter to do that. And the other thing about my paints is I can pass them on to my daughter if I can't use them, because she's at uni, and every 5 minutes I get, "Oh mummy, have you got any paints you don't want?" Because she's doing illustration and animation, so she needs kind of gouache things. I really like that colour. Now I wouldn't have got that out of a tin or a tube or a pot, but I made it myself, and I made it with Viridian green, or Viridian, apologies for pronunciation, and a kind of a very, very orangey yellow, a tangerine colour, which I think probably could be cadmium yellow deep hue, thinking about it. Not technically, but as a rough colour guide. So I'll zoom out in a second. Yes, the Reeves, and I'll only know when I've done my others. Ooh, sorry, I'm trying to get in that corner. Oh, dear, gosh, don't know why I jumped. I didn't need to jump. I didn't need to jump. I don't want those pans to drop on the floor because they'll break. So thanks for stopping by, guys, and it's always good to have people having a natter about different products from across the planet, so that's quite nice. I tend to be quite slow, and sometimes I apologise, but I kind of get waylaid into what I'm doing and I forget to talk, which some people might think difficult. I think that's a little snail actually under there. There's always lots of little things hidden, and you don't find them until you start to pick things out. So again, I'm a bit of a chicken. I pick out the easiest things first, and this happens to be leaves. I always pick out things that I know what they are. I'm a terrible chicken that way. I've got not very brave when it comes to drawing. I do hope to get braver. Now there is a big leaf behind there. And as you can see, my leaf behind is the same shade as the leaf in front, and that's something that I'm not used to. So I think I've got them all. So I'll just pan out really. Oopsie, I've got a light right in my face. Oh, it's not even on that one. That's silly. So that was fairly quick. I don't know how many minutes that was, but just by doing that, we seem to have got all the green leaves done. And they've kind of got a unity because they're all, and of course, dead dry. So we've got the toadstools. I can zoom back in, but I'm just going to make the colour for the toadstools, I think. And I'm just going to have a bit of a play. As I say, I always have to have a piece of paper. So I quite like that colour. Just let me see if I can do something with it. I think that's too pink. And thought that was too orangey, but if I mix them both together, yep, I think that's just the right colour that I want. So I could use that brush, but I think I'm going to use the number 4, excuse me, which is in between. So get a damp brush, and the colours almost started to dry already, but it's about the consistency of milk. And I'm going to do a little tiny one down here just in case it's not the right colour. Oh, sorry, I apologise. Alfie! Come on! Sorry about that. Had a back alert. Come on! Come on! Never mind. Oof. Thank you. Come on, Suzanne. Put your foot down. So, I'm going to go in that one. Oops, that little one there. Oh, thank you, Claudia. Yep, I'm quite pleased with that colour. I like that. This one might be a bit, this brush might be just a bit too big for this space. Oh, shush, Alfie. But you can see just how nice my daughter's messing about in her bedroom, and of course, well, I tell a lie, she's not messing about, she's cleaning the bunnies out. So we might have a live bunny cam a bit later, because the bunnies are now getting so big, and Mummy Bunny, Mummy Bunny went to the vet, so she couldn't be a Mummy Bunny again. Oh, Suzanne, where's it gone? Oh, where's it gone? It's disappeared. Oh, it's disappeared. Hubby found one. It's disappeared. I'll ask him when I see him, Suzanne. He found one under the cupboard. A bright red one. We haven't used it yet. We were waiting for your supervision. I don't think it. I don't think we could do that with him because he cowers. So we better not. Otherwise, he'll sulk. Um, Again, it's just so well behaved. Is this paint? Oops, I've gone over because I've gone under. If you use the underneath of your brush, always try to go that way to your line. If you start going that way, it'll squish, and you go over the line. So I've just gone over the line a bit there. So a twist of colour, and if you don't stop, you shouldn't get any lines. It's just like having a perpetual marker without the smell of a marker, and you don't have to keep putting the top pen back on it every 5 minutes, and you can use it in a colour book, so it's very quick. Not sure if I've got the right red, but again, it's not a pinky red and it's not an orangey red, so it's the red I quite like. But again, I don't think I will ever get the same red twice because I am mixing it myself, and it makes a difference. Now, that might have dried, and I might get a line now actually because it's dried too quickly, and I wanted it that little bit wetter. But if you can keep the consistency right, you won't make a mess of your colour page. So if I carry on up here, in theory, it's going to look exactly like the one below it. Even though I'd gone over that one twice. Just put a drop more water to it because it's drying out very quick. Because again, it's not supposed to be used like this. But it does give a really nice effect. And it's really nice to do. It's fun and it's easy and it just takes a bit of pressure off that, you say these amazing things that take hours, and yet you can have such a great effect by just playing with gouache. And you can go over it and I'm going to go over it again excuse me, and probably put a shadow and a light and a dark, but this is the lightest shade that I want. And I tend to work light to dark. I tend to do that with most things. I think oil paint I start medium if I can, but everything else I always start light to dark if it's water based, because it's too difficult. Even though gouache goes over, white gouache goes over, I still prefer to do this. But I've only started a couple of pages, so I'm not quite used to it yet. It's like everything, things evolve as you start to play, and you learn that it's got to be the consistency. I've just splashed my page. I've splashed everywhere. Let's see if I can get this. Oh, luckily I'm actually doing that one. That's not so bad. Managed to get away with that. That's why you should never have your water pot on that side. Oh, I found a bug. Oh, it's a bit wet there, so I'm going to have to leave that because that's a bit wet. Because I spilt the paint there, so it will react slightly differently. So, really like this. Didn't think I'd be able to get this nice red, but yep, can do. So, that's good. And you can put these back in with white if you wanted to, but it's good practice to go around things. You get good brush skills by doing that. So apologies for my kettle. I'm actually going to see if I can get a coffee machine, because I can make a drink with hot water, and because I can't lift the kettle. So and I hate coffee because it gives me indigestion, and it makes me burp a lot, and I hate that. So apologies, because everybody makes me coffee because it's quick. They don't have to mess about with a tea bag. It's just hubby that makes me tea. So that's dried now. I can go in there with a... And you have to mix it well. You can't mess about. You need to mix it fairly well. Like watercolour, you can end up with some that's mixed and some that's not on the brush. If you want the really flat, as I say, kind of Disney effect, you do need to get that flat. So I'll just do this one and then I'll read chat. Just give me 2 seconds. Put my mouse somewhere. No, it just makes me make strange noises when I'm streaming, which is is not nice. So I'll just pan out a little bit, and you can see it's really very quick. Let me have a look and see. You'll have to forgive me. I've moved the camera so I won't get the full thing in, but we've done a lot of waffle and we've been about an hour, 50 minutes, so you get quite a lot done, and it makes a different effect. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Nigel, so I'm going to do one. I've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I didn't think I had many. I've got eight and the big mushroom. So I'll do these. Oops, sorry, my lamp's decided that it wants to just have a moment. So all I'm doing is just I've got a damp brush using and it's looking a bit grunky now because I'm using it. Again, that did not come off my face. And twisting it, it's quite wet. It's very not like traditional gouache, definitely not like traditional gouache. And then just stroking the page. So again, really nice if you've got bad hands because you just, excuse me, the paintbrush is taking all the bounds, shall we say. If you were using a marker, you have to kind of hold it and scratch it. A brush, you hardly have to hold it. Again, don't do what I'm doing. Always turn your page because you go over your lines. Oh, thank you, darling, because I can't stop. I made a coffee and I can't stop burping. Thank you. And so I can go back in there and do other things. There we go, Suzanne. It's a new one. The only problem is we can't normally get anything out like that because of the other two, because they have been beaten. If a wire trails, one of the dogs screams and yelps and runs away because they've all been badly damaged. They're very skittish. So I'll just finish this because that should take us up to an hour. And if my husband will take Alfie outside, we can have a bunny cam. We can have a bunny update on the baby bunnies who are not baby bunnies anymore, but they are so cute. They are so cute. They will melt your heart. They are so pretty. So, could inspire some more artwork. Instead of piles of books, I probably could do piles of bunnies. I need to write that down because I'll forget. Because these bunnies, because they're sisters and brothers or whatever they are, we haven't quite decided what they are yet. They do actually live in piles. There's always somebody piled on top of somebody else. And that's how they kept warm when they were little, so we've just left it like that. So we've got a little diddy one here, and really, if you really want to make a good job, you could really get a smaller brush. But here we go. See if we can do this. So I'm quite pleased with that colour. I mean, I could have done any colour I like, but somewhere along the line, it's obviously never going to be perfect because you can't measure unless you literally measured the powder out. 50-50 between cadmium red and Elysian crimson, but roughly somewhere about there is a very nice toadstool red because it's not too pink and it's not too orange. And different mediums will give you different tones. This is not in your face. And yet I think I did one that was very bright before. When I do the butterfly, I think I'm going to do, and decided whether I'm going to do it in art bars. So just let me see if I can find another one, because what I don't want to do is to get rid of this paint and then find another one. And of course I've forgotten the big one as well. But again, it's completely dry, so I love that. Hi Laurie, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Thank you for stopping by, we totally understand. So I just want to finish this one off and then so you just got to concentrate when you go around corners and tucking under pores. But it seems to act very well, and I wouldn't think, because it's actually in the dark in a colour book, I wouldn't think you had a lot of problems with it. Gouache normally isn't light fast because it's designed to be in a page, so in a colour book it should be fine. So that's taken about an hour, give or take a bit of, and that's what I've used. So I used my cadmium red and my alizarin crimson, and I used the cold blue, and um, I mixed my own green actually. So I didn't use, oh I did, it's there, viridian green and cerulean blue. So there's something nice about mixing your own colours. So anybody got any questions? So thanks for watching, but again I think 2 parts is going to do that page, which is really good. So I'm going to do some really nice pale colours here, and I'm not sure about the bunnies. I do like the white bunnies, but we'll have a look. So thanks for joining me. That's the end of part 1 of the Daydreams page in gouache. Thanks for watching.